Hey everybody, it's Shawn from Tech Babblers, and today we are taking a look at the, as you can see there, Nokia Lumia 830. This will be my take on the device, and if I think it's worth it or not to even take a look at. So let's just jump right on into it. To begin with, I'll be covering three main sections, which is the hardware, which ties into the software, which will then tie into my own experience using the phone, which I did use it for 1 week straight here in New York on T-Mobile's, I guess, 4G, if any of you are curious. So to begin with, this is the Lumia 830 with the orange back color. At the top of the device, we have our micro USB port along with our 3.5mm headphone jack. On the right side, we have our volume rocker, followed by our power button, followed by our dedicated camera button. On the bottom we have nothing, and on the left side we have nothing. On the back we have our 10 megapixel Carl Zeiss lens camera with optical image stabilization and LED flash. We also have our Nokia branding, and within the back cover it does have wireless Qi charging. On the front, we have a 0.9 megapixel front-facing camera, along with your capacitive touch buttons, headset, and mic. And power. Well, to begin with, the device, as I stated on the back, has a 10 megapixel pure view camera with optical image stabilization, LED flash, and so on. On the front, it has a 0.9 megapixel front-facing camera, in case if any of you are out there are looking to take selfies or, video chat with friends and family. It does have a 5-inch, I believe it's an IPS LCD display with a 720 resolution, which is at 1280 by 720. It does have a Snapdragon 400 processor, which is clocked in at 1.2 gigahertz. It also comes along with 1 gig of RAM, 16 gigs of internal storage, which is expandable via micro SD up to 128 gigs. But Microsoft does include their OneDrive service, which gives you 15 gigs of free storage. All of this is being powered by a 2200 milliamp hour battery, which definitely does give it a lot of battery life, as it's a Windows phone and it has 1 gig of RAM, and it doesn't really have a I guess one of the top spec processors, as we may put it, but we'll get into that a little later on in the review. It does have, like I stated, built-in wireless Qi charging, which means if you do have a dock, you can just place your device and it will charge, but I don't really have one of those to show you. The screen does have Gorilla Glass 3, which means it's easy to clean, it's very durable. It has high brightness mode and wide viewing angles, which I do agree with, as this this display definitely is vibrant, I'd say. I mean, if you look at it from the side, you can still see, just as if you look at it straight, or if you look at it from the other side. Definitely with videos, if you're trying to share a 5-inch screen, I mean, it might be impossible amongst 2 or 3 people, but definitely if it's you and someone else is viewing it from the side, it wouldn't be a problem. Its pixel density is 296, which means it isn't one of the sharpest, but definitely in Windows Phone territory, this is one of the nicer looking displays, as most Windows phones are meant to be cost efficient, so specs are lowered. But once again, that doesn't really matter because it is running Windows Phone, which means we'll jump right on into the software. It's running Windows Phone 8.1, which is the latest Windows Phone update out there. It does have, I guess, what used to be Nokia's exclusive stuff like Nokia Camera, Nokia Maps, but it does run smooth. The point here is Windows Phone does not need a Snapdragon 801 or 2 gigs of RAM to run fine. Like I stated, it does have a Snapdragon 400 and 1 gigs of RAM, which I'm stressing so much for the fact that this phone runs smooth on, low specs. Like, there's no lag. The only time I had a few glitches, which you'll see, where the phone, when it locks, it locked and it would never unlock. Like, it just froze completely and I had to hard reboot it. But I mean, other than that, it runs smooth. You can open as much apps as you want, which it does multitasking. As you can see here, in the background, I'm running Metal Slug, WhatsApp, messaging again. Well, see, here's a little glitch that I noticed. This is messaging right here, as you see there, but this one is actually weather, but it says messaging right under it. I'm running Instagram beta, and a few more instances of messaging where if I click each one, it would take me further back. But it has no problem, running this. Like, as you'll see in the video, it's running. I ran Metal Slug on high with no lag at all, which shows that okay, the Snapdragon 400 is a mid-range CPU, but it runs it just fine. Now, when we talk about the camera, as I stated, it is a 10 megapixel Carl Zeiss lens in the back with optical image stabilization and dual LED flash. And this camera is no slouch. It runs perfectly well, takes great pictures in standard lighting and good pictures in low lighting. Now, there were a few cameras that I've tested on other Lumia devices, which you would say are low-end devices that take terrible pictures under standard conditions and like atrocious pictures under low lighting. But this camera is no slouch. Maybe because it's for the fact that not only is it 10 megapixel, but it has optical image stabilization, and it's also a Carl Zeiss lens. If any of you have used Windows phones such as the Nokia Lumia 1020, 9, I believe it's the 930, phones like that have the Carl Zeiss optics, it's just great. It's definitely up there with the iPhone and OnePlus One, which are my two primary phones. And if you're definitely looking to take pictures, this isn't a bad phone for you to use. What else can I say about software? So Nokia did add a few, I guess a few of their apps, as you can see, like Nokia Camera, which we'll just add, we'll just use this little guy right here. We'll take a quick picture of him. So as you can see, this is just standard. So that's a standard picture. And now, if you're someone to, I guess like to mess with exposure and stuff, you just press right up here, and as you can see on the bottom it said auto. When you switch it, right there it says pro. And you can simply just go in, turn off flash, your white balance. Right now it's on auto. You can, mess around with it. So we'll do under cloudy, and then focus. You can manually focus it. There's tons and tons. Shutter speed, brightness. Nokia and Microsoft definitely didn't slouch when it came to the camera department. Not only did they give you a good camera, but they gave you a good software to build on the experience, which I think is, one of the main points of this phone. It isn't that the phone is so powerful, but that what it has from Microsoft and Nokia does well. I've used Nokia Maps or Here Maps, Here Drive. Then you have Lumia Beamer, Lumia Cinemagraph, Lumia Creative Studio, Lumia Help, Lumia Selfie, Storyteller. I've used a few of them and they're definitely good. But if you're looking to get a Windows phone, since we are talking about the software, there isn't that many apps. If we scroll through my phone, and it's not to take a knock at Windows, it's just the reality. People aren't really, I guess, there aren't as many mainstream apps as there are on other OSs, but there are alternatives to most of them. So as we can see, like for banking, I usually use Chase Mobile and Discover. Now, Chase Mobile is here, but there's no Discover. Now, the alternative to you know, the alternative to Discover would be going to the website and loading it up, so on. But I mean, they do have some apps. So if we load the store, I mean, you'll see exactly what's here. So if we load the store up, I mean, they definitely have it as your featured app, featured game, top free games, top free apps, you know, so on. So we can just scroll into featured apps, and there's like Truecaller, Music Deal, Super Photo, Share to Speech, Weather Flow, Jack of Time. You know, like some of these apps sound like maybe you don't know what they are, but they're definitely alternatives to a lot of apps that you know, you use on your Android or Windows phone, depending. I mean, your Android or iOS device, depending if you're planning to switch on over. I mean, now we'll just jump into my you know, my experience with it. So as I stated, I have been using it for 1 week on T-Mobile's service in New York City. Now, this Nokia Lumia 930 that I have isn't one of the I guess it's a world unlocked phone, so the specs would vary. For 2G, I have 850, 900, 1800, 900. For the 3G HSPDA, we have 850, 900, 1900, and 2100. For LTE, we have 800, 900, 1800, 2100, and 2600. So as I was stating, I have been using the device for a week, and with the network, I guess the network bands that I stated, this is what hinders you. So, for many of you that don't know, T-Mobile didn't have LTE, but they expanded, so there is LTE. But because of the phone, right here, if we look at it, you can see right there that it's T-Mobile's HSPA Plus that I'm on, not LTE. I mean, it's not that big of an issue because, you know, HSPA isn't that bad, but definitely a note to take. Please, if you get this phone, check your check cell maps, call your provider, and make sure that it works with your bands. Because if you have T-Mobile and you have to get HSPA, there's a lot of tinkering you have to do. You have to go into settings and change your you have to change it to automatic, and it took me a few minutes to figure out why I wasn't getting what the speeds that, you know, I knew that I was gonna get. But other than that, Windows Phone is you know, it is what it is. I mean, you have your notification drop down bar, which is the same as on iOS or Android. As you can see, you have your news, you have your email, you have your messaging, and you have your recent phone calls that you may have missed. Along the top, you have your quick toggle. So for me, it's my Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, camera, and brightness. Which, I mean, if you press Wi-Fi, it'll take you to the Wi-Fi, and you can turn it off. If we, you know, press the brightness, you can change it to low, medium, or high. You have on the bottom, for now, I guess all Windows Phone, 3 capacitive touch buttons, which is the back, which takes you back. the Windows Phone, which takes you home if you're in an app, and the search button, which now opens Microsoft's new voice assistant called Cortana. Now, I personally like Cortana more than I do Android or Siri, as you can see right here, Cortana not only gives you the answers to the questions you ask, but she also gives you the latest news. She can search for music. She asks you like where your location is and gives you what you need based on where you are, which can be kind of like Google Now, but without the extra Google Now launcher, which is you know, pretty interesting. So like, I live in New York, and here are your top headlines. Here are the latest in science and technology, which means Cortana knows that I am into science and technology. And then, you know, would you like me to suggest places to check out based on where I live? It would tell me places that I can go and eat. And then, as usual, you can ask Cortana questions. So, you know, you can ask it, what is the height of the Empire State Building? And it will definitely give you the answer. So let's just, you know, try that. What's the size of the Empire State Building? Technically, it's how tall is the Empire State Building.
87,123 square feet, 8,094 square meters.
Now, definitely, Cortana does sound a bit robotic compared to Siri and Google now, but I mean, it gives you the information to me quicker. Like, I've definitely tried in iOS where I've asked Siri some questions and it kind of throws up Google answers, where here it did throw up answers. So as we can see, we have our Bing and we have other information, but it also gave us what we wanted it to tell us. And then you can, you know, look local, images, videos, I guess phone, if you want to call anyone in your contacts list known as the size of the Empire State Building. One quick thing is with the 830. Now I can't remember if it's if it was included in other Windows Phone, but it definitely does have this little it's called Peak, where you can set it to what to do. And for me, I like to have it like this, so I gave it my weather. I gave weather access to it, and as we can see on the bottom here, it threw out 2 missed calls, 2 messages, 2 emails, and my time. Now, I personally would like to think that this is the problem as to why my phone froze. As with Peak, I have it set so it's always there, and it seemed to have just froze completely and like it wouldn't unlock. And I really don't think it's the phone, because I've tried to replicate it multiple times and it hasn't happened. But even with Peak, the phone does have a 2200 milliamp hour battery, and I mean, I have Peak set so it's always on, and I can use the phone for about 1 full day, which would leave me on 50% charge, and I could probably go another full day and then have to worry about charging it. If you're a light user and maybe you listen to, you know, like 20-30 minutes of music while you're going to work or school, and you occasionally browse the web and check email even though you have it pulled down, you definitely don't have to worry about battery, as this phone is no slouch. It will give you more than enough battery to go through a day, which can be, you know, 8-12 hours. It will definitely get you through the day and you won't have to worry about anything. Now, what I can say about the phone, which I guess my final impressions on it would be, while Windows Phone 8.1 did add a lot of features to the phone, and the phone's build and software definitely go hand in hand, Windows Phone is still lacking software. I mean, that doesn't take a knock on the phone personally, but I mean, the overall experience is still hindered, as you are limited to a certain amount of apps, and they're definitely, I mean, even though there are alternatives, they do take a little longer. It's not to say that Windows Phone is necessarily bad, but it's not growing as fast as iOS or Android. I guess maybe because people don't really see the market share for it. Now, even though that is a downfall, this phone is definitely very solid. It definitely does provide you with great image, great battery life, great display, and overall, you know, it's the complete package for Windows Phone. Now, this is I wouldn't rate it as a high-end phone. It's more of a mid-tier phone. Like, you would say the Lumia 520, 521 is the low end, which is around $99. This would be the mid-tier. It's around $300-400 off contract. And the high end would be like the HTC One M8. Now, I personally haven't used the HTC One M8 yet, but this would probably give you the same exact experience. I mean, if Windows Phone can run on a Snapdragon 200 and run exactly the same on a Snapdragon 400, that means it would run exactly the same on the Snapdragon 800, which means the only thing separating those two apart would be design. And as I said, this phone definitely has great design. I mean, it's a premium device. It feels premium. It looks very premium. You have a choice of colors in the back. If you love the Lumia 1020 with the protruding camera, you're gonna love this look. Like, I've had people ask me, "Hey, what is this? This isn't the iPhone you were using. What's this nice phone?" Like, "Oh, it's a Windows Phone." But if you like Windows Phone and you want to check out this device, it's only I believe it's probably around $320 off contract. You can easily find it in many different colors, and you know, carriers like AT&T and T-Mobile, I'm sure AT&T, they're going to bring this on contract very soon, and it's a very solid device. I mean, I personally don't like to rate devices, but for Windows Phone, I would give this a solid 4 out of 5. The only reason I'm taking one one point away from it was because of that little issue that I had that I'm still trying to figure out if it's a well, I mean, it's definitely a software thing, but I'm trying to figure out if it's the software linked to just this device, or if it's based on other devices, which I will definitely check out once I review my next Windows phone. So it's been Shawn from Tech Babblers. If you like this device, if you like this device and this review, please give it a thumbs up, as it's definitely very helpful. If you didn't like it, thumbs it down and at least tell me why you don't like it. If you personally want to follow me or Tech Babblers, you can follow us on facebook.com/techbabblers, on our website at techbabblers.com/techbabblers, where you'll be able to find all of our videos that we've done on numerous different devices and so on. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Shawn_Shakir, where I post little tidbits of devices once, things happen to them. And yeah, it's been Shawn from Tech Babblers. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.